r/ProRevenge. Bully me mercilessly for being hard of hearing in a room full of people, after I paid to be here? Have fun getting fired and evicted at the same time. Story by Will Not Bite. Enjoy! I could get into huge trouble for posting this, but it's been a couple of years and nobody in my life knows I use Reddit, so I think we're in the clear. I'm going to take out any details that might give someone an idea of who I am, though, just to be safe. Okay, so I'm not the type to ask for impossible shit or to demand ridiculous accommodations, and don't get me wrong, I'm usually very polite to service workers, but I will straight up go full mode when I don't get what I'm paying for, and when workers are being purposely dismissive or rude. I do this weird sort of stern middle-aged mother why thing when I'm being dismissed at customer service. Or when I have to deal with my boyfriend's bank, which will put him on hold for like 4 hours and treat him like absolute horse shit until I get on the phone and suddenly they're all, "Yes ma'am, no ma'am, certainly ma'am, we can fix that right away ma'am." But there is exactly one instance when I have gone full Karen, entirely out of necessity. So when I was 16 I paid over $150 for an all-day pass to get into a theme park event in my city that I go to every year. That's a lot of money to me, even now, but it's a huge deal and it's tradition. Problem is, the park is super loud and I'm hard of hearing, auditory processing disorder and a little deaf, so I have a hard time understanding what people are saying. The best way I can describe it is it's sort of like trying to hear somebody talk to you while you're underwater, if also while you were underwater there was a swarm of bees loudly buzzing around your head. This theme park is owned by a multi-billion-dollar company that pretty much runs the city, and they are widely known for being huge assholes who just care about money, but the park is tradition, and everybody goes. Seriously, don't feel bad for them, they're terrible. My point is the media in my city is literally scrabbling for a takedown story of this company. We were in the thick of it in the ride section where things are noisiest and I can't make out a f***ing thing. I'm walking into one of my favorite rides with my boyfriend which takes place in an enclosed room but you can still hear all the noise from outside, that I have gone on every year since I was like 6 years old, and the rules have changed as to where to put your bags. This is fine if a little overkill, but I'm glad it's safer now. There are no signs signifying the rule change so they are relying on you understand the guy talking who doesn't sign. That's a big no-no for deaf, hard-of-hearing people, but with a little extra effort from the person trying to talk to you can get the gist of what's being said just fine. This 35-year-old man then decides to openly mock me, calling me a retard downy for putting my bags where I've been putting them for the past decade. This whole thing lasts like 15 whole minutes, no exaggeration. He's going as far as to make other riders boo and clap at me as I desperately tried to figure out what was going on. I was confused and scared. My boyfriend, who can hear perfectly, was with me at the time, is trying to explain to me what this man wants, but even he can't understand because the instructions are so confusing and he's purposely being cryptic to drag this out. The door is closed and he won't let anybody leave until the ride was over, even when I was banging on the door trying to get out. I was literally crying at one point as people laughed at me, right up until I started signing and they realized I literally cannot understand. Straight silence across the ride as nobody wants to get involved. Ride operator guy doesn't care even when my boyfriend is telling him I can't hear him and tell to him clearly what he wants me to do so he can sign it to me. After that 15 minutes was up, finally some random citizen waves to get my attention and plays charades with me for 30 seconds before I 100% understood what was being asked of me and did it. To which this ride operator scoffs at this guy like he's pissed in his Diet Coke and starts to slow clap, while literally refusing to start the ride until everybody awkwardly slow claps with him. At this point everybody just wants this to be over and humors this guy while I'm still crying. The ride started and the entire time it was dead silent except for me sobbing. It was bad. People apologized to me outside and told me they were sorry for playing along and that they wished they'd have been the one to help me. Whatever. Anyway, I f***ing ruined that guy's life over the course of the next hour. It was like WW2 at the customer service kiosk, which was near the entrance where it was quieter. I didn't need an interpreter, so I sent my boyfriend away to enjoy his day since mine was already shot. It was a hard sell. He was very protective after that whole fiasco, while I committed first-degree murder. The customer service lady tried to give me a voucher for half-price $30 ice cream and told me the guy was new and was just trying to do his job and that I should calm down. Oh? I did not pay $150 every year for a decade to be bullied for being legally deaf by some guy you brought on a week ago. I want your manager's manager on the phone right now, or so help me God. I made like 15 calls. I threatened a class action lawsuit. I literally called a family friend who is a lawyer right there at the customer service to show I was serious. I was pretty reasonable with anybody who wasn't acting like a Class A dumbass, called my local deaf and hard of hearing advocacy group. And the kicker, I called like 6 separate news channels. They were very interested in my story. This guy's boss came down to do damage control to tell me he was going to put the guy on suspension until the theme park moved to the next city in a couple days. Not good enough. Who's your boss? I was out for blood. Once I'd reached literally as far up as I could go, some lady had to drive in from across the city to deal with me. The ride people's manager and the customer service people's manager were full-blown arguing about what to do as I began practicing what I was going to tell the news people when I got home. Apparently they would have had to close the ride for like 4 hours while they got the only other guy who could operate it in from some event he was at. Maybe a wedding? I don't know, I wasn't listening. I didn't give a Then I said something along the lines of, "It's not my fault you hired a discriminatory egghead who likes to pick on deaf teenage girls. I want him fired and I want this on a record somewhere. I want consequences and I want my f***ing ticket comped, before I talk to highly respected state newspaper." They both turned to me at once and it was like 2 owl bobbleheads looking at me. "You're a minor?" That man's ass was grass right then and there and I was the f***ing lawnmower. He had sown the wind and I was the whirlwind. There was no saving him. Not only did they comp my ticket, they also gave both my boyfriend and I VIP passes. And bought me lunch from any food stand in the theme park. Turns out the guy was actually living with the traveling theme park for the summer, sort of like a 21st century circus but with running water? In a park-owned trailer as they traveled across the country. I was unaware of this, but I'll be honest, it wasn't an unwelcome surprise. A security guard, at my insistence, led me to the edge of the closed-off trailer area where I watched him pack his into a backpack and a box, leaving what he couldn't carry, presumably to be picked up later or thrown out, before he was led by 2 separate security guards out the back. Basically evicted and fired in one solid punch. I don't know where he went, but I highly doubt he had a place to crash in the city. The park then, hilariously, called my 50Y, redneck dad to ask if the punishment and compensation for me was to his satisfaction and if he would be pressing charges, speaking to anybody about the incident. They meant the news, and he basically just said, "Yeah, that's fine." What direction did he go in? What a goof. They would not tell him. Eventually he got me on the phone and asked if I wanted to press charges against the park or if I would want to speak to anybody. No, I'm all right. I'd like a comped lunch for my boyfriend who was with me when it happened though, if that's all right. That way we can eat together. My dad laughed and told them what I wanted, and that was that. They had me sign some paperwork that basically prohibited me from talking to the news or posting about it on social media, and a customer service dude went, found my boyfriend, and led him to where I was waiting with 2 VIP lanyards and eating I'd already ordered. "Oh, will not bite. What did you do?" "I ordered us a bloomin' onion, a plate of deep-fried pickles, a plate of deep-fried Oreos because I know you wanted to try them. Also, we have 2 VIP tickets now and another $150 to spend. Oh, and 2 sodas. We are still dating and go to the theme park every year. Nobody has bothered me about my hearing since." You are an absolute legend for making it to the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please hit that like button. And if you can't get enough, consider subscribing. See you around.